Kara Langley didn't see the man until her shoulder slammed into his chest, hard enough to knock the coffee cup from his hand and send her backpack tumbling to the ground. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," she gasped, breathless, her heart pounding as the train doors behind him let out a final warning chime. He caught her arm to steady her, his grip firm but not rough. "Are you okay?" His voice was low, smooth, and startlingly calm for someone who'd just been body-checked by a total stranger. I need to get on that train," she said in a rush, scrambling to grab her bag. "Please move," but it was too late. The doors slid shut with a hiss, the train pulling away from the platform, her entire body slumped. "No, no, no, no." He let go of her arm. "Where were you headed?" She shot him a look, not even registering his face. "Boston, I had an interview." "I needed that train." His brows lifted slightly. "Interview?" "Yes," she said, out of breath and frustrated. "I was laid off last month. I've been living off ramen and hope, and that train was my shot at getting a job at one of the only firms that actually read my resume." He blinked, then glanced down at his coffee-soaked shirt and suit jacket. "Well, I guess we're both having a day." She finally looked up. He was gorgeous. Tall, dark-haired, with a strong jaw and eyes so sharply blue they looked unreal. His suit was expensive, she didn't know brands, but she knew money when she saw it. His watch alone probably cost more than her rent. Kara groaned. "Great. I ruin my shot at a job and destroy the wardrobe of someone who looks like he owns a skyscraper." A small laugh escaped him. "You might be closer to the truth than you think." She narrowed her eyes. "You don't actually own a skyscraper, do you?" He tilted his head. "Just one," she blinked. "You're joking." "I'm not." She stared at him. "Name's Nolan Carter," he added, holding out a hand like they hadn't just collided like a scene from a bad rom-com. "And what's yours, Kara?" she said slowly. "Langley." "Well, Kara Langley," Nolan said, glancing toward the departure board. "I think I just cost you that interview," she sighed. "It's not your fault, I wasn't looking. Still, let me make it up to you," her brows lowered. "What? I'll get you to Boston, private car." "It'll take longer than the train, but you'll make your interview," she blinked at him. "You're serious," he nodded, "dead serious. And you're just offering to drive a complete stranger across 3 states. Technically, my driver will. I don't do long car rides if I can help it." Kara stared at him like he'd grown a second head. "Why would you do that?" He looked straight at her. "Because I can, and because I feel responsible." She hesitated. "And you're not some kind of serial killer." "I own Carter Holdings." "You can look me up. I have multiple buildings and 0 bodies in my basement." She bit her lip, eyes flicking toward the exit. Her interview was in 5 hours. If she declined, she'd lose the job opportunity. If she accepted, she'd be in a car with a strange millionaire for 4 hours. Then again, he didn't feel like a stranger. There was something about him intense, calm, maybe a little amused but not creepy. She exhaled. "Fine. But if you try anything weird, I have pepper spray and I'm not afraid to use it," he grinned. "Noted." The car was black, sleek, and probably worth more than Kara's entire student debt. She sat stiffly in the backseat beside Nolan, her backpack clutched in her lap. The interior smelled like leather and whatever expensive cologne he wore, clean, warm, and unfairly nice. "You can relax," he said, glancing over. "I'm not going to try anything." She folded her arms. "I just don't get why you'd help me. I told you, I felt responsible also." He paused. "You made me laugh, that's rare." She looked at him. "Seriously, seriously." She shook her head. "This is insane." Nolan smiled. "Maybe, but it's kind of fun, right?" She didn't answer. They rode in silence for a few minutes. Then he spoke again. "So, what's the interview for?" "Marketing coordinator," she said. "I've been trying to get in with Caldwell and Green for months. It's a long shot, but I need it." "You're from the city, Brooklyn," she said. "Born and raised." "You, originally, Chicago, but I live in Manhattan now." Of course he did. "So what do you do exactly?" she asked. He glanced over. "I manage investments, real estate, tech startups." "Luxury assets," she whistled. "Luxury assets, that sounds vague." "It is." Kara laughed despite herself. "See," he said, "you're smiling." She looked out the window, trying to hide it. "Whatever." They arrived in Boston an hour before her interview. Nolan stepped out first and held the door open for her like some kind of old-school gentleman. "You sure you don't want me to wait?" he asked. She stared at him. "Why would you wait? In case you want a ride back, or dinner after?" Her stomach flipped. She didn't know what this was, some random act of kindness or the start of something, but it felt different, like the beginning of something she didn't know how to name. "I'll call a cab," she said quickly. "I didn't give you my number," she hesitated. "I'll be at the Ritz 2 blocks from here," Nolan said. "Ask for me at the front desk if you change your mind." She nodded, pulse racing. "Okay." As she walked away, she felt his eyes on her back, and for reasons she couldn't explain, she wanted to look back, but she didn't, not yet. Kara stepped out of the elevator and into the sleek, glass-paneled lobby of Caldwell and Green with her heart thudding so hard it almost hurt. She'd made it with 15 minutes to spare, but the adrenaline from the trip hadn't faded. She still felt the weight of Nolan's eyes on her back, the echo of his voice offering dinner, the smooth confidence that had no business affecting her the way it did. She tried to shake it off. This was her moment. One shot, no distractions. By the time she was seated across from the hiring manager, she'd steadied her breathing and forced herself into the polished, professional version of herself she'd rehearsed for weeks. Every answer came clear, every example precise, and when she walked out 40 minutes later, she could tell she hadn't just survived the interview. She'd nailed it. But the second she stepped outside and the chill Boston air hit her skin, the reality hit her harder. She had no return ticket, no hotel, and nowhere to go. She stood on the sidewalk, debating her options. The thought of calling Nolan, even just to ask about that ride back, made her stomach twist in ways she didn't want to analyze. She could find a cheap motel. Or she could do the unthinkable and go to the Ritz. She stared down the block. 5 minutes later, she was walking through the revolving doors of the most luxurious hotel she'd ever stepped foot in, her worn-out boots squeaking against marble floors polished to a mirror sheen. The concierge looked up, already assessing her with the kind of polite distance that said she didn't belong there. "I'm looking for Nolan Carter," she said, and her voice didn't even shake. The man behind the desk hesitated for half a second, just long enough to make her sweat, then gave a short nod. One moment. He picked up a phone, murmured something, and then gestured to a uniformed staff member. "He'll meet you in the rooftop lounge." She blinked. "Okay." The elevator ride was silent, but her thoughts were loud. She didn't know what she was doing. She didn't belong here. She should have booked the cheapest bus ticket, eaten a bag of vending machine pretzels, and called it a win. But when the doors slid open and she stepped into the rooftop lounge, none of that mattered. He was already there, standing near the edge of the terrace with the city skyline behind him. The sun was dipping low, throwing streaks of gold across the buildings and catching in his dark hair. He turned as she approached, and something in his expression shifted. No humor, no teasing, just something startlingly open. "You came." "I didn't plan to," she said. "I just didn't have anywhere else to be. Honest, I like that." He motioned to the empty seat beside him. "Sit." She hesitated, then dropped into the plush chair, pulling her coat tighter around her. "I got the interview done," he nodded once. "How'd it go?" "I think it went well. They didn't throw me out, so that's something." His mouth curved slightly. "I'd hire you." She gave him a look. "You don't know anything about me. I know you're resourceful, you don't panic under pressure, and you gave me a black eye with your shoulder." Her eyes widened. "Wait, what?" He turned his head slightly, and sure enough, there was the faintest bruise forming just beneath his right eye. "Oh my God," she said. "Why didn't you say something? You had enough on your mind, and I've had worse." She stared at him. "You let me think I just spilled your coffee. I didn't realize I physically assaulted you. I've had more painful meetings this week." She covered her face with her hands. "This is humiliating. No, this is real. Most people I deal with aren't." She lowered her hands. "What does that mean?" "It means I spend most of my time surrounded by people who want something from me. You're not one of them." She frowned. "How do you know?" "Because if you were, you wouldn't be sitting here looking like you're debating whether or not to bolt." She stood up. Maybe I should. He didn't move. You could, or you could let me buy you dinner. She folded her arms. Why? Because I want to. No hidden motives, no expectations, just dinner. I don't do favors for favors. He leaned back slightly. Neither do I. She studied him for a long beat. Fine. But I'm ordering dessert first. He smiled. Good. That's the only way to do it. They didn't eat in the rooftop lounge. Instead, he led her down to a private dining room just off the main restaurant, a space she suspected most guests didn't even know existed. The walls were lined with hand-painted panels, and the view overlooked the harbor, glittering with the last light of day. A waiter appeared without being summoned, offering menus that didn't list prices. Kara blinked. I feel like I should warn you, I'm a $3 taco kind of girl. Nolan glanced up from his menu. I don't care what you usually eat, I care what you actually like. She stared at him. Why are you like this? What normal? No disarming. He considered that. I was raised to be polite. That, and I got tired of being surrounded by people who only cared about my bank account. She looked at him differently then. Not just as the mysterious man who'd offered her a ride, but as a person who moved through the world with weight on his shoulders. The kind that didn't come from money but from being constantly watched and wanted. I don't get it, she said. You have everything. Why are you alone? He didn't flinch. Because having everything doesn't mean having anyone. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. Dinner came. It was exquisite, each bite a kind of magic she'd never tasted before, but she barely noticed. They talked. Not about work or money, but about strange childhood memories, favorite books, irrational fears. He told her he hated flying in small planes. She admitted she once tried to dye her hair with food coloring and ended up with purple ears for a week. When dessert arrived, a plate of gold-dusted chocolate, something she couldn't pronounce, he waited until the waiter left before speaking again. I want to see you again. She paused, fork halfway to her mouth. I don't live in your world. You don't have to. I'd rather step into yours. Her voice came out quieter than she meant. Why me? He answered without hesitation. Because when you slammed into me at the station, you looked me in the eye and didn't care who I was. You were real. And I haven't had that in a long time. Kara didn't know what to say to that, so she took a bite of dessert and stayed. Kara stood in front of her apartment door, the hallway dim and quiet. Her key paused at the lock. Everything about the past 24 hours still vibrated under her skin: the car ride, the rooftop dinner, Nolan's voice when he told her he wanted to see her again. It was too much and not enough, like a dream she hadn't meant to walk into. She finally slid the key in and pushed open the door. The apartment was cold, an old third-floor walk-up with radiators that only worked when they wanted to. She dropped her bag on the stained armchair by the window and sank down onto the edge of her futon, the mattress groaning beneath her. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She let it ring out. She wasn't ready to hear his voice again, not until she figured out what this whole thing was. Because it wasn't just a one-time good deed anymore. That much was clear. The second buzz came with a voicemail notification. She didn't check it. Instead, she turned on the rickety desk lamp and pulled out the half-written thank you note she'd started on the train platform weeks ago, the one she'd meant to send to a former professor after the layoff. But the words didn't come. She was still staring at the blank card when her phone buzzed again, this time with a different name. Hey Kara, it's Lacey. Her friend's voice cut through the voicemail. I know it's late, but I just left dinner at the Rosewood and I swear I saw you in a private dining room with Nolan freaking Carter. Tell me I'm wrong, or tell me everything. Kara let out a breath and leaned her head back against the wall. Now it was real. She'd known it would catch up to her. Nolan wasn't just wealthy, he was visible. People paid attention. She didn't sleep that night. Between the voicemail, the interview adrenaline, and the fact that her radiator started clanking like a haunted pipe organ at 3 in the morning, her brain refused to rest. By sunrise, she'd made a decision. She needed to see him again, but not for the reasons he might expect. She needed clarity. Answers, boundaries. It was barely 8 when she walked into the lobby of Carter Holdings, her thrifted blazer slightly wrinkled from being shoved in her bag the night before. The security guard at the desk gave her a look that said she didn't belong there, but she kept her voice even. "I'm here to see Nolan Carter. Do you have an appointment?" "No, but he'll want to see me." The guard picked up the phone with evident skepticism. Kara crossed her arms and waited. 2 minutes later, a woman in heels sharp enough to slice glass stepped off the elevator and motioned Kara forward. "This way." The elevator ride was silent. The woman didn't glance at her once. When the doors opened, Kara was led into an office that looked more like a luxury penthouse than a workspace floor-to-ceiling windows, dark wood, and a skyline that stretched endlessly in every direction. Nolan stood at the far end, back to her on a call. He turned as she entered, his expression unreadable for the first time since she'd met him. "I'll call you back," he said into the phone, then hung up. "Kara." His voice was softer than she expected. "You didn't answer my message. I know, I needed to think." He nodded once. "I can step out if you need a moment." "I didn't come for small talk." She took a breath. "I need to understand something. Why me? Why now? And what exactly are you expecting out of this?" His gaze didn't waver. "I'm not expecting anything. I'm hoping for something." She folded her arms. "You don't even know me." "Not yet. But I want to." "Why?" "Because when you walked away from that dinner, I didn't want it to end. And not because I'm used to getting what I want. I passed on a $500 million deal last year because the founder lied in his pitch deck. I can walk away from anything, but I didn't want to walk away from you." She stared at him, something shifting in her chest that she didn't want to name. "I'm not a project," she said finally, "and I'm not some detour from your world. I'm not trying to turn you into anything," he said. "I just want to see where this could go. If it doesn't work, fine, but I won't pretend I'm not interested." Kara looked out the window. The city stretched below them, indifferent and glittering. "You're not making this easy," she said. "I'm not trying to." She turned back. "If I agree to see you again, it has to be on my terms. No surprise drivers, no private chefs, no hotel suites that cost more than my tuition." "Done," she blinked. "You didn't even ask what my terms are." "I don't have to. You set the pace, I'll follow it." She narrowed her eyes. "You don't seem like the type who follows anything." He gave the faintest shrug. "Maybe you're the exception." She wasn't sure if that was comforting or terrifying. "I have one condition," she said. He straightened. "Name it. You don't get to fix my life." "That's not your job." "I wasn't planning to," he said. "But if you ever need help, real help, you can ask. Not because I'm trying to solve anything, because people should have someone in their corner." Her throat tightened. She didn't want that to mean anything, but it did. "Okay," she said. "One date. One real-world date. You, me, and no rooftop terraces." "I'll pick the place," he said. "If there's a sommelier, I'm walking out." He smiled. "No wine menus, got it." As she turned to go, he spoke again. "Kara," she looked over her shoulder. "I'm not trying to impress you. I just don't want to miss this." She didn't trust herself to answer. She just nodded and walked out. Kara adjusted the strap of her satchel and stepped into the narrow, bustling cafe just off Columbus Avenue. It was Nolan's choice, but not at all what she expected. No velvet booths. No polished silver. Just pressed tin ceilings, chalkboard menus, and a line of regulars chatting over mismatched mugs. He was already there, seated at a corner table with a coffee in front of him, sleeves rolled neatly to his forearms. He looked nothing like the man who'd owned the rooftop last night. No tailored jacket, no watch gleaming on his wrist, just a navy sweater, dark jeans, and a look in his eyes that caught hers the second she walked in. "You're early," she said, sliding into the seat across from him. "You're 5 minutes late," he countered, but there was no edge in it. Had to walk. The subway stalled between Park and Broadway. He nodded once. "I like this place. I figured we could both use something normal." Kara glanced around. "You come here often." "Only when I want to disappear for a while." He leaned back. "I take it you don't mind the lack of a wine list." "I respect it." A waitress came by and Kara ordered a black coffee and a blueberry muffin, then turned back to him. "So, what exactly are we doing here, Nolan?" He didn't blink. "I was hoping to find out." I mean, what are you actually looking for? Because I'm not some novelty to distract you from boardrooms and billion-dollar deals. I'm not looking for a distraction. He set his cup down. I'm looking for something real, or at least the chance to see if it could be. Her brow lifted. You're used to getting what you want, aren't you? Not always, but I've learned how to ask for it. She studied him. And what if I say I don't want this? I'll respect it. But I'll regret it. Her reply was cut off as the waitress returned with her order. Kara sipped the scalding coffee, grateful for the pause. He hadn't tried to charm her this time. He hadn't leaned into theatrics or money or any of the things he could have used to dazzle her. The absence of it made her more unsettled than anything else. Okay, she said finally. Let's say I believe you. Let's say I'm willing to see what this is. What happens when your world pulls you back in? Then I bring you with me, he said simply. If you want to be there, she scoffed. You don't think that's complicated? Everything worth anything is. She bit into the muffin, surprised it was warm and not overly sweet. I got a call this morning. Caldwell and Green wants a second interview. His expression didn't change. That's good. You don't sound surprised, I'm not. You're good at what you do. People notice that. I don't want you to think I'll ever need you to open doors for me. I don't want to open doors for you, he said. I want to walk through them beside you. Her heart stuttered. She hated that it did. But the way he said it, like it wasn't a performance, like it wasn't about proving anything, made it hard to hide from the truth of it. You're not what I expected, she admitted. Neither are you. Most men in your position would have forgotten me by now. I've forgotten a lot of things, he said. You didn't make that list. She set her coffee down. You're making this very hard for me to walk away. I'm not asking you to stay forever, just long enough to see if we're not completely wrong for each other. She looked out the window, watching a man struggle to parallel park a delivery van. The driver behind him laid on the horn. Life went on outside, messy and loud and real. I have rules, she said. List them. I don't date people who expect me to quit my life. I don't expect anything except honesty. I don't change for anyone. Good. And I don't do perfect. If you're looking for someone who fits into your world without friction, I'm not it. I don't want perfect, he said. I want honest friction. She shook her head. You really don't know what you're asking for. I think I do. The silence stretched, not uncomfortable this time, but full of things unsaid. I have to get to Midtown by 3, she said at last. They're doing a tour of the office before the next round of interviews. I'll take you. No, he waited. I mean, thank you, but I need to do this myself. I wasn't offering to influence anything, he said. Just a ride. She stood. I know. But for now, I need to prove something to myself. He rose without argument. Then let me walk you to the corner. Outside, the wind had picked up, tugging at the ends of her scarf. He walked beside her, hands in his pockets, not touching her, not rushing her. At the curb, she stopped. This is where I go alone, she said. He nodded once. I'll be here when you're ready, not waiting, just here. She looked up at him. And if I don't come back, then I'll know you made the right choice for you. She didn't know what to say to that, so she did something she hadn't planned. She rose on her toes and kissed him. It wasn't long or dramatic. It was quiet, certain. A promise, not a plea. When she pulled back, he didn't move. Goodbye, Nolan. For now. She turned and stepped into the streetlight. She didn't look back, but she smiled. 3 weeks later, Kara stepped off the elevator into the offices of Caldwell and Green, now not just a visitor, but an employee. Her ID badge still felt strange, clipped to her jacket, but the title beneath her name didn't, Marketing Associate. She rounded the corner to the conference room and froze. Nolan was there, standing beside her department head, both of them reviewing a portfolio of potential campaign partners. He looked up as she entered, and something shifted behind his eyes. He didn't speak. Neither did she. But as the meeting ended and everyone began to file out, he waited. When they were finally alone, she walked up to him. You kept your word, she said. So did you. I start Monday, I know. I made sure your name was on the right desk. You didn't interfere, only to make sure no one did. I'm glad you're here, she said. Me too. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small envelope. He took it, opened it, and read the single sentence inside, "Dinner, my pick this time." He looked up, and for the first time since the train station, she saw it, that unguarded expression, that flicker of something real and deep and unshakable. "I'll be there," he said, and this time Kara didn't walk away, she stayed. The restaurant Kara chose had no valet, no white tablecloths, and no maitre d' with a clipboard. It was tucked into a quiet corner of the West Village, with a green awning faded by sun and time, and a single string of mismatched bulbs dangling across the windows. The kind of place with chipped teacups and a menu handwritten daily on butcher paper. Nolan had arrived early but didn't go in. He waited on the sidewalk, leaning casually against the brick exterior. When Kara rounded the corner, her curls caught by the wind, he straightened. She paused in front of him, wearing a soft, rust-colored dress and a leather satchel slung across her shoulder, her expression unreadable. "I thought you'd cancel," she said. "I didn't want to. You've probably never eaten here." "I haven't," he said. "But I think I already like it." She opened the door without replying, and he followed her inside. The restaurant's lighting was warm and low, the air thick with the scent of roasted garlic and something sweet baking near the back. They were seated by a small window, the kind of table usually reserved for locals or people who knew the chef by name. The waitress greeted Kara with a smile. "Back again. Couldn't stay away," Kara said. "This is Nolan." The waitress gave him a once-over, then nodded. "Lucky guy." Once she left, Nolan leaned forward slightly. "So you're a regular here. Only when I need to remind myself I'm still me. You think I'll ruin that? I think your world could if I'm not careful." He didn't argue. Instead, he asked, "What's the best thing on the menu?" "The lamb tagine. But you'll want the bread pudding for dessert. Trust me." He nodded, and they ordered without pretense. No wine, just water and a shared plate of olives. As they waited, Kara studied him. "You don't look tired." "I slept last night." She raised an eyebrow. "That's rare." "Lately." "Yes, I think my head's been too loud." "And now?" Quieter. She didn't respond. He cleared his throat. "There's something I need to say," she braced. "If you're about to tell me this can't work, I'm not." He looked directly at her. "Quite the opposite." The waitress returned with their food before he could continue. The tagine spices hit the air, and Kara closed her eyes for a moment, letting it center her. They ate slowly. Conversation dipped into unfamiliar territory. Her old college roommate who moved to Paris on a whim, his first failed startup, the one he'd sunk 3 years into before pulling the plug. They were building something now, not just testing the edges. When the plates were cleared and the bread pudding arrived dripping with caramel and topped with a scoop of spiced cream, he finally circled back. "I've been thinking about what you said, about not needing someone to fix your life." She sat back. "And? I don't want to fix anything. But I want to be part of it, not in the background, not as a footnote. I want to be in it with you." Kara's gaze softened. "My life is messy. I'm still figuring things out. Some days I don't even know if I belong at Caldwell." "You do," he said without hesitation. "And some days I don't know if I belong in your world. That's the thing. It's not mine anymore, not completely. It's ours if you want it." She leaned forward. "You're not just saying this, right? This isn't some romantic dinner speech. This is me," he said, "telling you that I've had enough of almosts, that I don't want another day where you're not in my future." She exhaled slowly, her fingers tracing the edge of the dessert plate. "I want it too." "Say it again." "I want it," she said, more certain now. "You, us." He reached across the table and she took his hand without hesitation. "Then let's stop towing around it," he said. "No more waiting." "What are you suggesting? That you move in?" Her eyes widened. "Nolan, not tomorrow, not until you're ready, but I want you to know the offer isn't temporary. This what we're building, it's permanent to me." Kara didn't speak for a long moment. Then she said, "I've never lived anywhere with heated floors." He laughed, low and full. "They're wildly overrated." "But the view's nice." She squeezed his hand. "I'll think about it. I'll wait, however long it takes." Outside, the city hummed, but inside, everything had stilled. Whatever came next, they'd face it together. 6 months later, Kara stood barefoot in the sun-drenched kitchen of Nolan's penthouse, pouring coffee into 2 mugs. The skyline stretched endlessly beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows, but it no longer intimidated her. She'd taken the promotion at Caldwell and Green after presenting a campaign pitch that landed them a national account. She didn't feel like an outsider anymore. She belonged. Nolan padded in, hair damp from a shower, wearing a T-shirt she'd stolen from him months ago and claimed as her own. He reached for his mug, brushing her hand as he did. "Meeting today?" she asked. "Just one. Then I'm yours." "You say that like it's a promise." "It is." They ate breakfast on the balcony, feet tangled beneath the table, the city alive below them. Later that night, after takeout eaten straight from the containers and a marathon of old movies she'd made him promise to try, she curled against his chest on the couch. "I never thought I'd end up here," she said. "Neither did I." "You didn't need me." "I did," he said softly. "I just didn't know it until that morning at the train station." She looked up at him. "You still think I gave you a black eye on purpose?" "I think you knocked the breath out of me, and I've been chasing it ever since." She smiled against him. "You caught me," he kissed her forehead. "I know." They didn't need anything else. Not the skyscrapers, not the money, not the world waiting beyond their windows. They had each other, and that was everything.